for my man Peter. What's up?
What's going on,
What's
Pete?
up, gentlemen? What's up, everybody?
How you doing, dude?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Peter is the host of a podcast called Juggalo Rewind. I know that you have a co-host, but I'm calling you the host because I know you're the one that like has to keep Chris in check all fucking episode long.
That's true. I don't know your guys' dynamic if you have the same. But sometimes one person goes off on a tangent, or we have a guest, and like you just kind of have to be the point guard. You know what I mean? And that's usually not me. That's not my style. I want to take over and tell a million stories and just be stupid, but I have to be the one that's like, we're on time, let's get this moving, keep the notes going.
I think we're pretty good at keeping each other in line for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely like you got to keep the ship afloat, and I feel you. I was just telling Carver this morning, like, I mean, this guy is like so like off the grid and like doesn't pay attention to shit. So like I'll text him and like not get response for like 2 hours. Like I don't know if we're even doing the show today. So like so in that regard, I feel you, bro. You want to steer the ship the way it needs to go.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will tip the hat to Keezy. He definitely keeps this ship going. I add some things, but yeah, I mean he's the professional. So
we both been doing this as long as each other, man. So all right, so Peter, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you hanging out in the wings there.
He's been, by the way, Keezy's been talking about. I haven't listened. I haven't heard anything yet, but he's been talking a lot about it for I'd say the past week. So
yeah, well, I kept seeing you guys have like a lot of really cool. I'm assuming like Chris does a lot of your social media. Because I keep seeing a lot of cool, like, you know, he posts funny memes, or like the Marissa Tomei thing was really funny where it was Marissa Tomei dressed as different Joker's cards and shit. It was just like she was wearing a purple dress, so it was like Malenko, or, you know what I'm saying?
That's actually pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Just like, I mean, that's how stuff comes up, right? Like we're just bullshitting and it's late at night, we're recording something, and I don't know how Marissa Tomei came up, right? And he's like, Marissa Tomei's Joker cards, and he wrote it down. And then a couple days later, he's just stockpiling pictures of her. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I know. I love that you're like, are you writing that down?
we have notes, and just to the side, if you're listening to our episode, you can just hear us pause.
Yeah,
and we're like, put that in the notes. That's a good idea. Yep, there we go.
I do. So I'll be honest. I don't consume like really any Juggalo media, and it's not because I, you know, am above it or anything. I just literally just don't have time, and the shit I do consume, like
you don't get on YouTube, so,
right?
I mean,
I watch like one YouTube show, and that's it.
I get on YouTube and that's all I do, and he does everything else except YouTube.
Right. So but at work I listen to podcasts all day long. So you know, I kept seeing you guys' memes pop up, people liking it and sharing it and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give these guys a try. They're kind of doing what we're doing, just way more in depth. Let's say that. So just for those that don't know, our show, obviously we review an album like half-ass, talk over it the entire time. These guys like they spend an hour and a half on every fucking song on an album and tell you all the facts and info about it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. I was like, geez, man, that's crazy. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, we're stupid in that regard.
That's a lot of work.
To be honest, I stole the idea from someone else. I listened to a Pearl Jam podcast that does the same thing. They stole it from a Prince podcast. I think there's now just different bands. It's not like a unique idea, you know.
Yeah,
of
course.
But
it's still a lot of work, though.
It is like so the first season we did Most Tasteless. We had that in the can for maybe a year. Just, you know, making sure who had what sample, when was this recorded, because that CD is just a clusterfuck. Right?
Well, I mean, that shows, man. You guys obviously did a lot of fucking research on that shit.
I don't want to say we did. I mean, it's not backbreaking work, but we just have a spreadsheet. You know, we're nerds like that, so we keep track of that. So we got through it, got to season 2, and we're like, oh man, like we don't have a lot of time. We gotta bust this out. So season 2 is Tales from the Lotus Pod, and we're halfway through that. And we just did Black Magic, and we have a couple more in the can coming out every Thursday. If you want to jump on in, you can be an old fan, been listening for 30 years, and this brings the nostalgia back to you. Or you could be a new fan and you're like, man, I just learned about this. You know, I want to go backwards and learn, because that's kind of what we are. You know, you latch on to something and you're like, what happened in the past? How did I get to this point? So if you want to jump on board, maybe we'll help the new Juggalo world out.
Absolutely,
bringing
man.
everyone up to speed.
That's the idea. Like, you know, you
Fascinating.
You see a lot of these Juggalo channels that are just kind of doing like what YouTubers do, talk about drama, or, you know, just do dumb bullshit. But, you know, it's nice to we're kind of creating a community of like these like old school minded Juggalos. I don't even want to say old school, because I've met a lot of younger Juggalos that are just like similar minded, you know, that are just either, whether or not they're, like you said, finding out now, or been down for 30 years and just now getting back into it. Like, it's been fun reconnecting with a lot of those types, you know.
Yeah, it's the nostalgia for sure. And for us, and I think you guys just mentioned it a couple minutes ago, like we're coming up on 20 years of like the family era, if you will, which is like the big boom. And like that 2001, 2002, like we're finding right now, just in that year and a half span, the albums that came out are like our golden era.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like what we grew up with. And I used this example the other day with someone, and they're just like, they couldn't believe what I'm saying. Like, my Riddlebox, or your Malenko, or your Wraith is someone's Flip the Rat. Someone heard Flip the Rat for their first Juggalo album, and in 20 years, they're going to be like, that was the best album they ever put out. And to me, that's insane, because that CD is garbage. But regardless, I'm not here to say that. But it's all about the nostalgia. It's what it brings to you. Like, is Tales from the Lotus Pot a great CD? In your head, maybe, because you remember going to shows and playing it nonstop. But to someone who listens to it now, or listens like track by track, you're like, this CD's a fucking mess.
Right.
You know, but like, it's what brings what you have inside of you, and what it like sparks of a memory of a show, or listening in a car, or your friends, or whatever.
It embodies.
There's no hate.
It embodies that moment, you know. Like every time you hear it, it's like time traveling back, and that's what me and Carver were just talking about before the show too. Like that's kind of what I feel like. You know, we are bringing that nostalgia vibe, you know, and there's a, you know, people are into it. People are into nostalgia, and again, whether it's new Juggalos finding out, or old Juggalos, you know, that have been sticking around, man. Like it's been wild seeing the wave, you know, and riding it. It's been great.
I actually got a question. So I would say I'm gonna compare this to food. I do this a lot. I would say when we listen to these albums, we're more of like, it's like a meal that we're doing the meal again. We're going back to this old restaurant that we used to love in the past. We're eating this meal again. They still cook it the same way. We might get a different feel and angle on it, but you're going in and you're knowing all the ingredients and everything that's being put into this meal. You're essentially going in the kitchen and seeing how it's all made, because you're doing all this research. And does that take away from some of the albums for you as you go through them this in depth?
It's funny, yes, and we've mentioned that a couple times. So in studying, quote unquote, aka listening to a song 8 times while I drive to work that day, the song like sticks to itself, like it's in its own bubble. So we just did Black Magic, and we danced. There, you can take whatever song. You could say like you like it or you don't like it, nitpick it, but then you have to think about how it flows, you know, like Most Tasteless in particular. And you can go back, and maybe this is common knowledge, like that CD was created, and so was Tales from the Lotus Pod, in multiple forms. Like, we'll go Tales from the Lotus Pod. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place.
No, you're good.
So the songs, the way they were recorded or written, are like a 3-year span. You know, like Mike Clark and Twisted and ICP do a couple songs pre-Jekyll Brothers. They sound totally different. Then you get a couple more. Then you get ones with Mars. Then you get one that literally Mars was crammed into. You could tell, like, you didn't record this with everyone else. You just like shove that verse in there. And then he leaves. And then, well, even before he leaves, Mike Clark leaves. So you have Fritz picking up some tracks. You have Mike P picking up some tracks. It's like to your analogy, it's like I have a plate and one restaurant made the steak, one made the potatoes. I got some rice from the Chinese restaurant down the street. Like individually, they're all good, but I don't really get a chance to listen to it all the way through. And we really have to do that for like at the end of our season, we do a recap of, what we missed or just tying things together. We really have to sit and listen to the whole CD as a whole, as a cohesive unit, because otherwise then you're like a forgotten freshness or a cryptic, where it's like just random songs that don't flow. And again, to your point, yes, it's fun looking at individual songs, but there's also the overall album that you have to take into account. And we don't really do that. We try to, but in your guys' case, you're feeling that more because you're doing the whole thing as one bundle.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to relive the moment, and you're just dissecting it. I can imagine that would, you would eventually be like, okay, this album isn't as good as I remember it anymore. But,
Yeah, I mean, listening to you guys dissect Most Tasteless, maybe say fuck Most Tasteless.
And some of it, the way, like why we wanted to do it, we are local Detroiters, so we have maybe a different aspect or a different feel for what other people do for these songs. And we also want to like go into like, A to Z lyrics. They're genius, and they are terrible when you try to like figure out what a song is, especially in the Juggalo world. There's so many local references that we're like, we kind of want to teach people what that means. Like,
yeah, I wish I would have had somebody doing that back when I was 15. Like literally, I mean, half of the lyrics are like I had no clue what any of this shit meant.
Yeah, Carvel of Carnage, if we get to that, is chock full of them. We thought Most Tasteless was perfect for it. And again, let's go back to Most Tasteless, like kind of two ways that the verses go. Some songs are a story, I'm sorry. Some are just words, like, they're just throwing shit together. It's whatever.
Like every Ouija Mac song.
Yeah. Some are a very specific story. Murder, Murder, Murder is a story. First Day Out is a story. So like we sat there and we're like, okay, Jamie got out of jail. What's going next?
Yeah.
And like we're making fun of like, so he got a steak next to a Taco Bell? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like where did he make this phone call?
I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that song.
It was ridiculous.
I'm glad you brought that song up because I didn't mean to cut you off, but like when I was listening to you guys talk about that song in particular, like you really like did. Like I've listened to that song 5,000 times, and I never realized how ridiculous like those lyric changes they completely fuck up the timeline of the story. Like it's just literal gibberish by the time Twisted gets their hands on that song. It's crazy.
But it's the same. I guess we tried to go back and forth with the original, and it's kind of the same thing. Like we made fun of like the different wines that they got, or like, oh my God, he gets his steak well done. Chris couldn't handle that. He's like, the most disgusting thing on this CD, forget the murder, forget the jerking off. Who gets a steak well done? And that's a 10-minute like jag that we went on where
that's great.
Other podcasts, other people are just like, oh yeah, that song's sweet. Next.
Yeah.
We're diving into stupid shit.
Hey man.
For
what it's worth, that's like my favorite shit. Like, I mean, you guys, how long have you guys been friends?
Oh, me and Chris, probably 20 years.
Yeah. Right so, me and Carver have known each other that long too. So, you definitely have like an obvious rapport, and that's. I like seeing that show, you know what I'm saying? Like when I listen to your show, don't get me wrong, I love the historical shit as a Juggalo shit, but like as I listen to you guys, like I really do enjoy just like hearing you guys fuck around and stuff. So don't cut all that out is my only request. All right.
And that's the fine line, right? Of any Juggalo podcast, of any podcast. Like you could make it historical and dry, but who really wants to listen to that? Like it's interesting for a historical purpose, but like let's go off on a different tangent. Let's do whatever. That's the fun of all of this.
You come for the content, but stick around for the personality. You know what I mean?
It's entertainment. Like we're joking around for
Absolutely.
sure. Even just like we specifically try to stay out of all drama, but we do make fun of different things.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, Tales from the Lotus Pod. Jay is at his fattest. he's got his stupid visor and his blonde hair. What the fuck was he thinking? Like every song, Jamie's talking about his dick, and we're like, "What? Put your dick away!" Like, that's all in good fun. We're not like drawing any lines in the sand.
Of course,
we're just having fun.
Of course. So since you guys are native Detroiters, I'm curious. Like, I think you're the first Detroiter we've talked to on here, so that's pretty fun.
We're the gatekeepers. Here's the gate. We're just letting people. And we found that's very different. I'm sorry not to cut you.
No, you're
off.
good.
That's like another reason why we kind of wanted to do this. It's shocking to me that psychopathic Juggalo stuff has been around for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
You look at podcasts, any websites, anything. People are from Washington, California, Columbus, Ohio, Pittsburgh, and it's like, how has the people that we know for all these years not done anything like this? Like, how is Vinny, the ICP kid, not done one of these?
Yeah.
Like, he should have been the first one. It would have been the biggest. Boom.
Yeah.
But like now we're trying to bring a Detroit flavor, which in the nice way is saying, hey, we're telling you where all these streets are. We're telling you that Soshimoko is like, isn't that great of a Mexican restaurant? Don't let ICP fool you. Like, we're telling you stupid shit like that. But like, we're also finding that what we see is very different than what everyone else does. And we're trying not to be like gatekeepy, but just giving you an aspect of what we've seen. And
yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of feeling like that too. Like I you know, just from having been in it for this long, like it's not like we're trying to sit here and be experts or anything, and we're not trying to be gatekeepers, but we are just trying to, again, bring that same vibe back. You know, we just want to talk to similar juggalos and put it out there. Like, there's obviously people that enjoy it, so you know, fuck it, we're all in it, man. So as a Detroiter, so what was your start with getting into ICP then? Like, how did you what was it in the air? Like, how did you come about it?
It's weird. Like, I think probably like everyone, or we're finding a lot of these when we talk to people, there's always someone's older brother, right? Like, it's always something that you taught from above.
Yeah.
I was in high school and one of my friends was drawing Joker cards like on his history book or whatever. And I'm like, that's interesting. Didn't know what it was. His older brother listened to it. He grabbed the CDs. He started listening. So we gravitated towards it. That was Carnival of Carnage and Ringmaster. I think I went to the store. So I was working in the mall. So Riddlebox just came out. So we're looking October 95.
And how old are you around this time?
High school. So
okay.
15, 16. Okay. Me being OCD, even when I was a kid, I see that, but I see two other ones and I'm like, I got to go in order. Like, I can't just jump in here.
Of course.
So I got Carnival of Carnage, Ringmaster, listened to those, got to Riddlebox, went to my first show in 96 and kind of been going from there.
So wait, you saw the images, but like you hadn't heard the music before you went and bought them, or you did, like you kind of like heard a little bit, like that's enough for me, I want to go check it out.
I think I heard a little bit of it, but I'm a dive right in.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to hear bits and pieces. Like, let me just hear it for myself. So
okay,
I just dove right in.
Were you on the Esham wave when he was making moves and big back then?
No, that was my first look into the Juggalo world. Okay. Before then, it's all just rock and you know, just normal pop, you know, shit that's on the radio. I wasn't like going to Esham in 91 or anything. Yeah. This was all, I was just turning like 15, 16 at this time. So I wasn't like going out doing my own shit. Yeah. I was already like sneaking out to go to these shows. So I wasn't like a, you know, grown ass man listening to Kill the Fetus. So my parents weren't buying that.
I'm curious about how, okay, so you go to the store and buy the first 3 cards. You take them home, you pop on Carnival of Carnage first, and then you listen to Carnival of Carnage, and you somehow make it all the way through and still want to listen to more, which is a shocking thing for me to listen to.
That's another funny thing as we go through time, right? Like some CDs, albums, I always say CDs, sorry. Some albums grow with time, like, you know, they age fine. And then some of them you go back and you're like, man, the production is terrible. Like, to me, I guess maybe I've been different as a juggalo, if you will. Back then it was funny to me. Like I thought Carnival of Carnage and Ringmaster were comedy albums, to be totally serious. Like we would listen to them at work. I worked at Sbarro's in the mall, and we would play it, and all the guys would be like, man, this shit's funny. Like the skits are funny. You know, it wasn't like this is musically great.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, the production is awesome. It's like, yeah, this is funny shit. And then I think more as Riddlebox and as that goes on, you're like, okay, I can like dig the vibe, dig the message, dig the music. But yeah, at first it was just funny. Like even when they started doing wrestling, I would go to their shows, and it's like, because I'm a big wrestling fan, so it mixed the two worlds, you know. And I'm like, this isn't the best wrestling, but it's entertaining because it's with this, and like they're funny. So I don't know. My path may have been a little different of why I was listening or why I stuck around, but
I agree with
so.
that. That's what I mean. When I first started listening to him as well, it was because it was funny, and that's what I thought about it. The same thing. I was just like, this is just funny shit, and I'm gonna put it on, and like it's offensive, and it's funny, and it's vulgar.
Yeah, it's almost like back then it was probably almost like having a fucking Jerky Boys album or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
good call. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I do understand that. I guess, like, you know, I was making a joke. Like, obviously, I have love for Carnival of Carnage, but like musically, we all know it's not like the greatest. So I just mainly couldn't imagine somebody listening to Carnival of Carnage be like, all right, give me more, give me more of this. You know, like I could see that. But that said, like, you know, again, I love it, but you know, that's first thing that popped in my mind.
I probably got like all three, and then went to the first show, and then Tunnel of Love was right around the corner, so it was probably all like a combination. You know, it wasn't just like 1992. I picked up Carnival of Carnage and had to wait another year and a half. You know, it was a group effort. I paid
like,
$10 for the tape. I gotta listen to it.
It was enough to be curious to keep listening at the very least.
Yeah.
So
good times.
So when you went to that first show, like 96, 95?
Yeah. The prom night massacre was my first show.
Oh, nice. So
Wow.
so was Tunnel of Love out by then?
Oh, prom night was April of 96. I think Tunnel of Love was like June or July of 96. So
Okay.
it was right around the corner.
Hell yeah.
My young memory doesn't remember like if they did songs from Tunnel of Love before it came out. That I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I mean that'd be hard to pinpoint, especially with you just being like pretty newish. Like I went to my first ICP show. It was House of Horrors. Within 6 months of Malenko coming out, but I had listened to Malenko and I think Riddlebox by then, but I couldn't tell you anything they played. I know they played a bunch of shit like I didn't know. You know, I remember that, but you know, obviously they were probably just playing fucking classic after classic. My little dumb brain can't remember it.
I mean,
and that's right on the borderline of people like keeping track of this shit, right? Like now, you have a set list before you're out the door.
Yeah.
Back then, like they weren't really recording shows. Like you're lucky to get a bootleg of 96 and before, so that hasn't really popped up. So. Yeah, it's in the dark ages of Juggaloism.
Yeah, during the era when people just lived in the moment.
Yeah, when your pictures were from a disposable camera,
yeah,
a crotch and bring in. Like I've got a couple of those. You know,
I'm interested. I'm interested to see or maybe not today, but maybe sometime see the relics that you have from back then.
So that's another. It's funny that you said that. So. That's another thing that me and my friends at the time jumped right into. Again, maybe it's my OCD, but it's the collecting.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it all came together, but different people at that time, you had like your AOL chat rooms, and everyone just started making pages of what they collected. And we had a friend who said, okay, let's put all of these together so we have our own like community. So there was a website of everyone's pages of everyone's collections, starting to trade with each other. And that blew up.
That early, man. That
dude,
is crazy.
I was 14 years old, 15 years old, and I made one of those pages, and I had all of my collection on it. You probably had my shit on there.
See, there you go. Like that's how things start tying together, right?
Yeah, dude.
And that was really cool. Like I wish that could have progressed, but just time and you can see how their merchandise went. It was impossible. To keep track of what is out there is so hard.
Yeah. I mean, prior to the Wraith, like you could pretty much make a list of every item that existed,
Yes.
But it got pretty outrageous at that point.
yeah, there was just every shirt, shirts in for particular, because
especially once they got into like
Like Hot Topic and Spencer's.
yeah.
And print to order. Like it's nice to say, hey, the Riddlebox Christmas shirt is like was sold at one show. It's very rare, right? But now more so. And then a couple of years ago, they were just like, hey, here's a shirt. Maybe no one bought it. Maybe one person bought that and they just printed it to order. But it's crap because no one bought it. But there's probably only one out there. So it was too hard to keep track of. And God bless the people who still do. I still trade and collect and sell stuff. And there's a bunch of Facebook groups that do it, and they're all great. But yeah, that was definitely a part of back then, collecting, rare shirts, rare audio, whatever. And there's a little bit of that for me, but not.
So have you kept all of your collection over the years, or did you kind of get purge any of it at any point?
No, most of it I still have.
Nice.
That's
I'm into audio. Like I like the tangible bit of having audio. So I try not to get rid of all those.
Yeah.
Posters and shirts, not so much. But little knickknacks, like weird stuff, I do try to keep up on, like ticket stubs, flyers, just one of a kind items if I can come across them. But I'm not. Backstage passes, I'm super big on now.
Okay.
Like that's been my big one. At the first couple gatherings, they had auctions. And they had all these old backstage passes. So I won one of those and then just started adding bits and pieces. And so that's something I enjoy to try to keep up on.
That's pretty cool. What would you say is probably your dopest item? Like the first thing that pops in your head, like you would mention to somebody like us.
Prized possession.
I mean, the backstage pass collection in general, probably, just because it spans so long, so many different eras and shows and memories.
How many do you have?
Maybe 150, 200.
Whoa, that's awesome. All right.
So it's cool. Like I take them like ticket stubs or show posters. It shows a history of going through.
How do you get your hands on those? Like you just buy them off of eBay or what? I mean,
so the first couple batches were straight from, like I said, the gathering when they had auctions.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, eBay, finding people. To be honest, you find disgruntled either ex-workers of Psychopathic or current workers who are trying to make a side buck.
Okay.
So I think it's just like anything. If you're into movie posters or you're into, I don't know, cigarette lighters, like there's a market for something and there's someone who's getting them and a community and they're selling them. So
have you ever like physically met with like a disgruntled like psychopathic worker in like an alley somewhere to pick something up? Or
I wouldn't say he was described, just using that as an example, but yeah, there was. I wish I knew who he was, but I did meet with someone at Lafayette, Coney Island, and buy a bunch of backstage passes from him.
Nice.
And he had a crew jacket, but I have no idea who he was. It wasn't like a Doug or Bill. It wasn't like a main guy. I think he was just like a sound tech or whatever, just some asshole. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean that's how stuff leaks out. The bigger they get, the more people they employ, and those people try to make a side buck. Some of them are not as reliable, or they get found out and they get kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
But
I heard you mention on one of your shows something about you did you I don't know if you knew somebody that worked at the warehouse or something like that. You had some kind of hookup maybe that you were able to get like merchandise from or whatever, like or did I mishear that?
Yeah, I don't recall us talking about that.
Okay.
Trying to think what other like hookups we've had.
Well,
I mean, we've told dumb stories, but yeah, never anything like that.
Okay, don't worry. I'm not trying to get a hookup. It's not like that.
No,
I'm more curious about like I'm just fascinated with like because you're like ground zero Juggalo central. You know what I mean? Being in Detroit, like what kind of people do you interact with that are like I'm talking about like degrees away from ICP or people in Psychopathic? Like what kind of connections have you made or people have you met?
You mean like specifically in like in
Yeah,
the know?
I'm curious if you do know anybody, like, you know, you had like a friend that worked there like that, or you knew fucking, oh yeah, Billy Bill used to fucking babysit my sister back, you know what I mean? Like, is there anything like that?
It does happen. Like a lot of people, especially in the early days, I think that spider web did go out, and someone knew someone who knew someone.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was always super negative, right? Like, which I don't know why. My boss, when I worked in the mall, was like, "Oh yeah, I hung out with them when I was in high school." But like looking back, that's bullshit. Like no one, people were just saying that shit.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. He's not listening. My buddy, who I worked with, his uncle did like their screen printing,
Okay.
like their t-shirts, and then through that he's got like a side business of like redoing people's driveways and, you know, landscaping and shit, and he did like Billy Bill's driveway. So like it's weird how that goes along.
Yeah.
So like, you know, someone who knows someone, but like actually getting something out of it, me personally, no. Like I've known friends, just like normal people, quote unquote, who worked up and got jobs with them.
Okay.
I have a buddy who we used to go to shows with, and he's a musician. He ended up just being a studio musician for them.
Okay.
He worked on Twisted's Heartbroken and Homicidal. He worked on Murder Death Pop, just as a guitar player. Like he didn't tour or do anything, but like he got his way in that way, just being a local musician.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I guess that's the kind of shit I'm.
Like
yeah, that is cool shit.
That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. You know, I'm not trying to get some secret info. I'm just I like hearing who people know. You know, it's fascinating how that tangled web weaves. You know.
Yeah, and it's not like, again, I'm not hanging out at fucking Jay's house or like, no, I've never done that. But just, you know, people who come and go through that business, and I don't know, just based on how they've operated for 30 years, they hire all their friends. They don't have any professionals.
Mm-hmm.
They get out of favor with people. You know, how many times has Rudy gotten fired or Isham come in and out, or, you know, just whatever they do. And so there's got to be hundreds of people who have worked there. So yeah, you're bound to come across someone.
Yeah, that's
some kind
interesting.
of shitty story.
So I'm assuming you've probably gone to like most of the shows that have been up there, right?
Like everyone, I think your time goes in and out.
Yeah,
right?
like the Hallowickeds and shit, right? Like how many Hallowickeds have you been to?
Halloween, I did 96 and 97, missed 98, and then did 99 through like 17.
Okay.
So
wow.
No matter what I felt about them, like, hey, I don't like this CD. I'm not like out on my front porch throwing Fago, like,
yeah,
just, you know, I'm not that guy. But I'll always go see them on Halloween. There's a couple of years there where I didn't. I'm like, this is terrible.
Sure.
Like, no, sorry guys, but like the year that like we were sitting there and you didn't go on until like 1:15 in the morning, me and my buddy were like, fuck this. Yeah. You know, like it's just, we got out of it in that regard. But we went last year. Like, I'll always try to hit a local show of anybody, them, Twisted, Blaze, whoever.
Okay, that's what's up.
It's fascinating, man. You're pulling the curtain back, and yeah, man. I think we need to wrap this up. I don't think we need to do this anymore, man.
You think they're just doing a good enough job? I know.
He's making me realize how fucking bad these guys really are, dude.
No, it's all good. Like, it's all the different flavors, all the different everything. You know, that's what makes telling stories and keeping this shit alive.
I mean, I've been there too, man. I've been there like, man, this shit is horrible. Fuck these guys. I ain't giving them money. Yeah. And then I've been like, man, they've done so much for me. I want to get back into it, and you know, the whole gamut of emotions.
I do love like when I am listening to you guys' show, like you're similar to us in that like you think it's ridiculous, but it's fun to talk about, like the whole them believing in the Dark Carnival shit and like.
Oh Jesus, that's this season in particular for Dark Lotus. Chris has to rein me in because every episode I'm like, do you really think they believe in this bullshit? And it's like, it's fun to think that they do. It's fun to put out a story, right? Like, even with our podcast, like, it's fun for one of you to take the pro, one to take the con, you to argue, but you know it's a show. Like, but do they really think that they like played black magic and a swarm of bees attacked Jamie Madrox, or that Jay had like a crow stop and talk to him?
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. That didn't happen. Like, you're bullshit.
Oh yeah, and they said Jump Steady went to Iraq to bring back the Egyptian tablets or whatever.
There was one where they like brought back a piece of the pyramid, and that like had power. Like, no, it didn't. When did any of you guys go to Egypt?
That's so
like,
funny.
Shut the fuck up.
I love it, but like
it's a funny story. But
you guys equate it to a wrestling gimmick. You know what I mean? And
100%.
Yeah, that's
all it is.
We've been doing that shit too. Like it's they're so good at it. You know, like.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty convinced that Jay thinks he saw a monster.
For whatever we just did, we kind of hit that point where it's like he believes his own bullshit.
Yeah,
100%.
I totally believe he does, for sure.
And that's cool. Like, if that's what you want to think,
here's my
keeps
thing.
You going, so be it.
Now, if a human mind can believe their own bullshit so much to a point to maybe they're actually tapping into something, I don't know. Maybe there's some like metaphysics to that we don't know about.
If that keeps you going,
see, he's my Chris.
Yeah, I can't. It's entertaining, it's cool, but like, there's certain points, especially during Dark Lotus, where like, I think we're saying Violent J, latches onto something and goes with it. He's like, I don't want to say a little kid, but it's like a little kid.
Yes.
Like,
no, I've said the same thing. I agree. Jay
this.
does have that mind. He does have that childlike mind where he latches onto something. And I know friends and other people like this, they latch onto something, and that is what it is until it just changes or they do something, and everybody else has to ride along with it, or it doesn't work.
He's got like, I don't want to say OCD, but it's like there's something shiny and it gets his attention. Like,
yeah.
Hey, the four of us are doing this wicked CD. Oh, wait a minute. Who's this guy? Oh, your name is Mars? Oh, what? We're going to pull you. Now you're my 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you didn't like answer my phone call yesterday. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, ABK, get in here. Like, he's like very back and forth with that. And it's like, just stick to one gimmick. Like,
He really gets in his emotions too, I think Jay does.
Yeah, and I don't want, this is going down a rabbit hole, but like, it's probably a little sad, right? Like, he is emotional. He has, mental, and we all have mental issues, but like, he's got something going on. He just wants to be liked, and he is. Like, he's revered by a ton of people, but like, he's just still trying to find himself, and it's kind of weird. And
at that age, still, it is weird at that age.
Like, cause I mean, he's like, I truly believe like he has like genius qualities, like as far as a businessman and ideas man, and just a character creator. You know what I mean? A world builder. Like, I truly think he has like genius capabilities. So the problem though is that like he was being revered as this genius in his 20s and 30s, and now he's turning 50, and he's been kind of stunted since he was fucking 19 years breathing smog or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's probably a little bit of that, but I mean, you can't knock his hustle, man. This dude knows what the fuck he's doing, and he's created this fucking a beautiful labyrinth that we're all stuck in. You know what I mean?
Right. To say it's an empire is not even like the right word. Did you guys watch the movie? Was that last year, the documentary?
Yeah, I watched it.
I still haven't seen it yet, but
it's like to say it's even a subculture isn't giving it its own just due. Like,
it's a universe.
His Marvel universe, like with its own, and we bring that up on the podcast, like its own vocabulary, its own characters, its own history. It's weird, but it's something that not very many people can say they did.
Oh,
so,
it's not a common thing in music, for sure.
No.
Speaking of the vocabulary, I did want to ask this. Personally, I hate the fucking word Nedden. I think it's lame. I think it's it's so stupid. Like, was that Detroit slang, or is that just ICP shit?
I think it's just them. We dove into that. What song was it? Was it Hound Dogs? Maybe Spin the Bottle?
Oh, okay.
Spin the Bottle. We had one of our non-Juggalo friends who's a comedian.
Oh, I liked him a lot.
Come on our episode. and he's just like, what is this shit? Like, what is he talking about? And I think we dug into it, and ICP said that they made up that word. It was like from them and their friends, not a Detroit thing.
Yeah, it's
And
so
that's something
lame.
that-
Like I've thought it's so whack that they've called it a Nedden for so long. Like I'm like, just say pussy, you fucking pussies. Like stop calling it Nedden. I mean, I get they did it probably just to like censor themselves.
Record label shit. Yeah,
I get that, man, but it's like they still say like, oh, you fucking getting some Nedden, like.
I just think it started out as record label shit. They probably had to censor themselves and figure out words. And I think they've even said that we had to, that's why a lot of their slang got invented, though. You know,
it's
what I
just
mean?
pet peeve shit. I'm just pet peeving, but
No, I'm with you.
But
That's-
it got to a point where now we're in the PC era. We're in the SJW cancel culture era. So now it's like they kind of have to keep saying it.
yeah, I guess so.
They're gonna,
Nedden.
yeah, and it's part of their lore.
Yeah.
Like they've said it for so long, and
Yeah.
there's so many words like that I think they just used as their own vocabulary. Ninja.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking stupid. I hate when people say that, but like I think they used it before they were even, musicians, and they've just brought it along. So
Yeah. It's
I
wild.
don't know.
I really think Jamie made that. ICP were doing it. You heard it in Riddlebox and
I mean, the song "Ninja," "Tunnel of Love." Is that
yeah, Tonal Love,
Yeah.
and then you kind of heard it after that. But I think when they did their the movie Big Money
Big-
Hustlers
yeah.
with the ninjas and Magic
Yeah.
Ninja, it really started getting. I remember that's when it really started popping off right there.
Interesting.
We'd have a whole thing on just vocabularies or origin stories.
Yeah. Oh, like
Trust me, we have stupid ideas, and we may be doing stupid shit like that in the future.
hell
So
yeah.
We had a theory, me and my friends back in the day, that ninja was a play on the other N word. That it's just white people that they didn't want to say it because they were white, but ninja were they could fit that in there and that worked.
I could see that at the time thinking that, but now looking back at how Jay and Jumpsteady were so into their like kung fu ninja movies and
Yeah.
that shit, I can see where they just grabbed it from there.
Yeah.
So I get it, and I think we probably all thought that back then too. But peeking behind their curtain that they've done for the past couple of years, like with their Patreon stuff, yeah, I just think that's them being 10-year-old nerds running around listening to watching that shit.
Yeah. So I did want to ask you did the She Ain't Afraid episode, which was
jeez.
it was really funny to me because you guys were so fucking grossed out by it, and it made me laugh because like you guys were almost like hesitant to even fucking like discuss like the vulgarity of this song.
Disgusting. Yes, I agree.
But it made me laugh, and I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. You guys did a great job like breaking down like the ridiculousness and speculating in the size of Jamie's dick and everything. But I did want to. I'm curious. Like we've brought that up a few times. Like how every album has to have what I like to refer to as the bitch song. You know what I mean? What was your thoughts on the final track of Fearless Fred Fury?
Oh, jeez, was that the?
I don't even remember what it's called because I've only listened to it a few times.
All I know it as is the choker with her panties.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like I
Yeah.
listened to it once, and I'm like, this is the most vulgar, disgusting bullshit that they've ever done.
Yeah,
So,
man. Like and like the preface with the little like intro to it and shit. Like this is the most disgusting song you'll ever hear, or whatever the fuck. Like
I like it rough. is
Yeah,
what it is.
I like it rough.
I just
If I can tell you, I've only listened to that like once. I'm like that's it's not. I agree with you, and I think we bring that up with most tasteless. Like especially in that era, you have a formulaic way to do a CD. You have the sex song, the weed song, the party song, the fight song, and they all kind of fell into that. But yeah, God, every CD since then, they have to throw on that disgusting, She Ain't Afraid or Dirty Little Girl.
Oh yeah,
or
on
the
this one
Panty
it's
song.
on Mirror Mirror. It's Dirty Little Girl, right? Is that the one on this one?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh yeah, thanks for the pussy, baby.
Now
I got to go.
I get that that's how people talk. That's not me. I've never been that guy.
Nah.
And I get it. It's entertaining, but like, you're not bumping that in the car. You're not pulling up to someone and you're like,
Yeah.
and we danced. Like, you hear what we're doing here?
I think I think there were eras and there were times when they did it right. They made the sex song and it was clever enough that it was done right. Like I think Cherry Pie is a good one.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So, but yeah, when it's just on like just so vulgar on Front Street, and it's like, you know, this is not going to age well.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd choices. I mean, whatever. We all do it, I guess.
When we do Fred Fury and we get to that last song, we'll get you guys on.
All right, sure.
So maybe in 2042.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, with your guys' format, dude. I mean, you could do what 2 to 3 albums a year. You got a long fucking way to go.
Yeah,
man. It's gonna be a while.
We have to be very, very particular with what we pick, and that's kind of a game we've been playing over the past couple of years of what can we do and why do we do it?
Yeah.
We can't go in order. It has to be very specific.
Sure. No, I mean, I think your guys' choices like are interesting. Like the starting with Most Tasteless out the gate with this with a podcast called Juggalo Rewind is an interesting choice. I liked it. I was like, okay, like Juggalo Rewind, you're going right for the Twisted album and then right to Dark Lotus. It was interesting choices for sure.
You know what? Hell, I would like to see you guys dive into Hell's Pit because I've always had issues with that album, the way it sounds and how it's put together, some of the production and stuff. So I'd really like to hear that. Your guys' take
That's
on that
one that I think, looking back, you would have to do. It's better being all encompassing than track by track. Because in my head, that first like 8 songs are awesome, and then it hits a point and it just
gets weird.
But like, track by track, I bet they're all okay. But yeah, all over, it may be a little bit of a mess. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Like we're trying to nitpick ones that like have good lyrics or stories that we can tell. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we're going to try to spread the love around just to make it interesting.
All right. Well, Peter, look, I'm not gonna hold you up too much longer. I do want to. We are going over Mirror today, which we'll let you go before we get into that. But did you have any thoughts or stories or tales you want to share regarding this album? Any memories you want to drop on us?
Thinking about it, I've always thought that I went to 3 shows in a row, but I don't think I did. Looking at the history, but yeah, that was the era of me and my friends go to every single show possible. You know, we went to Detroit and Toledo, and then I think the next week we went to Columbus. And like at the time, we were like, I think we were chasing a sampler. We're like, oh, we heard that the sampler's coming out, or we wanted to see this. In retrospect, that tour was awesome. For the time, I don't know, you had Twisted, ABK Blaze, and Zug Island, which is like our bread and butter. And we're like, oh, they're playing in Columbus? Get in the car, let's go. So, in that aspect, it was definitely the heart of me and my friends doing as much as we could, you know, going all over. The CD itself, I'm sure you guys will touch on. At the time, I didn't like it. I think it's aged well, but it's not in like my top tier of favorite albums. You know, it also has the distinction of being like stuck between Most Tasteless Freak Show and Green Book. Like that's kind of a hard place to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's okay. It's not their best, but it's not their worst.
It's a very family era album. You know what I mean? I think it does encompass the time pretty well. Like you know, as I was re-listening to it today, I did get like, I mean, I could feel like they were in it. You know, they were in the Juggalo family. You know, while they're making that album.
Production could probably be a little better. I feel like that first couple songs sounds like they're underwater for some reason.
Yeah, they took some weird liberties. Like I'm not sure like what why they went some of the directions they went, but you are right. It was a very odd sound coming right off a Freak Show, especially.
Yeah, it's like not the best, but it'd be interesting to go through and deep dive all their stuff and try to pinpoint, again, not to be negative, where did they decide this ain't for us? And maybe there's some seeds of that in that CD. Maybe there's some seeds of it in the Green Book, and those kind of come to fruition, you know, 10, 15 years later, 20 years later. But Yeah, I don't know. That's more of a deep dive thing, I think. At
Yeah.
the time, it was just an interesting little plug in between, I think, two very well received CDs. And I think it's aged well, but
yeah, I agree. I don't know if I went to the. I'm sure we probably went to the show. Do you remember going to the Mirror show here? I mean, because if it was in Columbus, I'm sure we were there.
Yeah, because we were going to everything back then too, but it doesn't stick out.
Yeah.
It really doesn't stick out for me.
But
what was the one where they had Bone with them?
Oh, I don't
remember that.
remember.
They were touring with Bone.
Yeah, I remember because we went in Columbus. Bone closed, so we watched Twisted. And I went outside and we hung out with Twisted.
Oh, okay.
It was cool.
Yeah, just trying to prepare for talking to you guys. I tried to think of all of my Columbus stories, but yeah, that one doesn't resonate as like something happened that was out of the ordinary. Or like
that's a badass lineup though. Like you keep a spreadsheet of all your fucking concerts, right?
I'm a huge nerd. Yes, I have a Google Doc of every concert that I've been to, who I went with, when it was, do I have a ticket stub, where did I sit, to try to like.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I wish I'd have done that. Fuck, that's sweet.
And I wouldn't say it's never too late, but if you go to one more show, that's one more show you're gonna forget.
Yeah.
So gotta jump on it. But,
yeah, man.
Yeah, just real quick, my Columbus history, the ones that I remember for stories like that. Diamonds Raining tour, giant snowstorm, and then the Malenko Juggalo day, we got stuck on the highway because of the ice storm. So thanks a lot, Columbus.
Yeah,
that's for you, Columbus. From a Michigan fan.
Yeah,
that's all for you,
dude. Hey, your weather's just as bad as ours, and I know you feel it, so I get it.
I feel it, but that day after a subpar concert, I'm sitting on the highway, dead stopped. I get home in time to go to work, and then I have to go to work. Like, that was terrible. Did you guys go to that, the Juggalo day for Malenko?
Yeah, I went. Did you go to that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely went. We met Vinny the ICP kid there. I was there with my buddy Josh. Yeah. We met Vinny the ICP kid.
I know we're going off the rails here, but I'll make this quick. Like, did you guys feel that show was, like, how would you grade that? Because everyone I went with was like, we can't put our finger on it, but it was subpar. And was it?
I don't even remember it.
Or did like...
Yeah, I remember it being,
I know I went, but I don't remember it.
I remember it being fine. I guess I didn't have any thoughts of it being not great, but I mean, I don't think I paid too much attention. I was more like hanging out with juggalos and stuff during the show, I guess. But
that was during an off time for me, but I just went just because it was like the Malenko thing, and I just went. But it was during like a multi-year thing where I didn't care about ICP and I wasn't doing shit. I wasn't listening. And
no, that's fair. We all have it. It's all good.
Did you go to that? Did you go to that $5 Gorilla concert they had here?
No.
where they unveiled they shot the video here of that cipher, and then they unveiled Ouija.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I didn't. Well, it was a weird thing. They announced the show like a week before the show.
I remember that one being great.
Yeah, it was great. That's what I was going to ask you. If you went to it, I was going to be like, that one was pretty sweet. I remember that one.
Yeah, I did. It was a Jay's 40th birthday party down there. I went to that, and that was really cool.
Oh, okay. Was that when they were touring alone?
I thought it was just like a one-shot show. I don't think it was in the middle of a tour.
No, I've skipped that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh well. All right, Peter. Listen.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, man. We love that you took some time out to hang out with us today and schooled us on some shit. Everybody needs to check out your show. Tell them where they can hear it and find out.
So it's Juggalo Rewind. So if you go any on your social medias, that's Juggalo RWD. Kids, the rewind button on the old tape and CD player, that's where that came from. Maybe you don't know that anymore, but we're on Twitter, Instagram are our main ones. You can find our website, juggalorewind.com. We do wrestling. We have our own wrestling stuff that we do on the side too. If anyone's in the area and wants to see us, we're going to be at Astronomicon, which is Twisted's comic convention here and coming up in a couple of weeks.
And what are you doing there?
So we have a wrestling t-shirt company.
Okay.
And we always have a booth there because they have wrestlers, as guests. The last couple of years, we've hosted their trivia. So we host wrestling, juggalo, and pop culture trivia. Side note, again, if anyone goes, Blaze always hosts the juggalo trivia with us. and it's not about the trivia. It's about getting him to tell a story. And he has like the best memory in the world. So we'd have an HOK question, and he'd be like, man, I saw them performing in Ipsy in 1997, and this happened. And like, we had a Bone Thugs question, and he's just like, I'm going to tell you about the highest I've ever been. And I was on tour with them. And like, so it just goes, it's almost like not a shoot interview, but it's just story time with Blaze.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
That is pretty cool. Yep.
Every year we try to like get a question about one of his songs to get him to sing it a cappella, because like, it'll be like, you know, what was this lyric? And everyone comes in with the answers. And then I was just like, how does that go?
Yeah.
And he would just sing it.
That's
and I'm
great.
Like, this is what we're trying to do. Like, we're just trying to have fun. So yeah, we're there in multiple capacities with the wrestling stuff, and now with the Rewind, trying to, you know, just get people to listen and talk about stories and see if they did their seance with Dark Lotus. And
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to hear how that goes.
Stupid. Just skip that episode. We don't need to do that.
Oh shit, that's so funny. All right,
But
well,
yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
well, thanks, Peter. We appreciate you hanging out with us, man.
Thank you.
Hopefully, you can come back, do it again sometime, and you know, if you ever want to have us on, man, let us know. We'll come check out Juggalo Rewind.
Got you penciled in for Fred Fury, no problem.
Hell yeah, man, we'll be there. I like it rough.
Jesus.
All right, Peter. Thanks, man. Catch you later.
Thank you,
you,
guys.
bud.
Appreciate it.
See you, dude. All right, man. That was it. Peter.
Man, I'm telling you, man, that's fascinating.
Cool ass dude, man.
Yeah.